show is not suitable for children, sensitive men, or insecure women. Can you trust somebody that doesn't take care of their kids?
I don't trust no man on earth that does not take care of their children.
What's the biggest red flag in a relationship?
Low effort and not being honest.
Most of the time, you would think that a bad financial mistake would be spending money on clothes or vacation or like spending money on women. My worst financial mistake was buying a home.
Like a king, give me my crown.
Game time. Game time. Appreciate y'all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.
We are back. Happy Wednesday.
Blackout. The blackout hour is amongst us. Shout out to everybody out there moving and grooving.
Yes.
Shout out to I've been wearing merch from black designers. So this was actually the way that they sent this was in a very crafted care package, and it was probably the best presentation that I've received so far. So shout out to them. The name of the brand is called Corner Kids. Shout out to them, Corner Kids, and their Instagram is CKA official. CKA official. Corner Kids is the name of the clothing brand. They sent me some polos and some t-shirts.
That's fine.
So yeah, good merch, good time for the summer.
Summer vibe.
It's t-shirt season. So that's what we're on right now. So shout out to them, man. Appreciate you guys so much. And do remember, the last stop on the You Deserve to Be Rich book tour is Saturday. That's the last stop. We went to 6 cities so far. It's the last one. And it's in New Haven, Connecticut.
Shout out to Connecticut.
New Haven, Connecticut. Shout out to CT. So all of Connecticut, New England, Massachusetts.
Yes.
I said if you're in New York and you couldn't make it, pop out.
Bridgeport.
Stanford. The whole New England come out, man. It's like $35. The price of admission gets you a signed autograph copy of the book, and then we have fireside chat. We do meet and greets. It's a whole experience. So look forward to seeing everybody in Connecticut this Saturday. You can go to youdeservetoberich.com to get your tickets. And yeah, that's the vibe. And the last thing I'll say before we start is get your ticket to InvestFest, investfest.com. If you're in Red Panda, you have the link for the discount. Check Telegram. We will be announcing a lineup very soon. Vendor booths available. We got a lot in store, a lot of activations, a lot of workshops, education, give back opportunities. It's going to be a lot. So we'll be announcing, we'll be starting the announcements and everything soon, but
what a time. Don't miss it.
August 22nd in Atlanta, Georgia. Don't be late. Ian,
please don't.
Any announcements?
Yeah, if you want to get rich from investing in the market, go to ianinvest.com. I think we had over 122 prices. Prices will be out the second week of May. Thank you for an amazing Stock Club call tonight. The new time is Wednesdays at 7 p.m. So Stock Club call and then blackout. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. You lighting anybody's soul on fire this week, or you good?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay.
I'm good. Got it out my system. So now we back to regularly scheduled program. So we got a lot to talk about. Of course, we're going to be talking about Shedeur Sanders
for sure
situation. That's a big deal. I'm sure we'll be talking about Trump somewhere in this situation somehow. But before we start with the Shedeur, because I know that everybody wants to talk about that, but
yeah,
we gotta let the beat build for that. But the first thing, we have a question from the audience.
Shout out to my guy.
So the question is, how do you fall out of love with your coworker that you have to see all the time and you can't stop talking to her? This has been 7 months of depression.
This is my guy, so I want to lean on your expertise first.
You know him personally?
Yeah, that's my guy.
Okay.
Shout out to you. I don't want to,
Salute.
but thank you for the question. Yeah.
Salute.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. When he's saying 7 months of depression, is he depressed because he can't? Or all right, we need some more clarification on this. Has he ever acted? Because you could be in love with somebody and the other person doesn't know that you're in love with them,
which is crazy. That's a stalker.
Are they in a relationship?
Nope, no relationship. They used to vibe for a little bit, and then the vibe and stop.
She knows that he has feelings for her.
Yeah,
but as of right now, it's not a reciprocal situation.
No,
he loves her. She doesn't love him.
That's my guy. So don't get mad, but that's a crazy combination.
No, I mean, but that happens. That's part of life. Okay, so here's my thing. This is why they say the work wives thing. It's easy to fall in love with somebody that you have close proximity
to. Yep.
That's why most people cheat with people from their job, because after a while, if you see somebody every day, you're talking to them, they're talking about their secrets, their family, their emotions. You develop an emotional attachment to coworkers. It happens. And then if the person is pretty, right, or in a woman's case, if they're talking to somebody that might be handsome or whatever, then that could lead to some level of chemistry, and then 1-2 thing, and before you know it, gap. Okay, so first of all, you gotta be careful with that. That's dangerous.
For sure.
That's dangerous in general. Number one. So if you are if your girl is working in an environment with men coworkers, be careful.
For sure. Work from home, baby.
From home. Be careful.
Yep.
Be mindful. Be mindful.
Be mindful. Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you fall out of love with somebody? That's a good question. How do you fall out of love with
Let's
somebody?
wake it up, yo. This is my guy. I rock with you. It's easy to get over somebody if you can get someone just as good as better. You got to build your roster, yo. And the truth is, for most men, when you are so dependent upon one person, it's usually because you can't get another that is equivalent or better.
Well, it's hard to replace somebody that is. There's not a lot of good candidates out there.
For sure. Yep. We was having this conversation the other day. The pool is dirty.
If you're finding a good candidate, it's hard to replace a good candidate.
Yeah.
But it's also difficult if you see some. That's the tricky part, because I'm not in that. We don't work traditional jobs, right?
True.
So we don't have people that we see every single day, right? Like coworkers. Like, I see like Troy every day, but I'm just saying, like, we don't see like our secretary every day. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that becomes a little difficult, because traditionally I would say block them.
You can't do it. You got to write in the cubicle next.
Block their numbers, but you can't do that if you got to deal with somebody every single day.
Yeah.
So how do you, the best way, like you said, the best way to get over it is you got to catch a new vibe.
That's equal or better. And if you catch that new vibe and she come bring you some lunch at work, I guarantee you that coworker starts feeling a little way. It's a numbers game, my boy. But you gotta, and he works on himself, but like you have to keep, as Stephen Cole said, gotta be colder. You gotta work on yourself every day. Once again, sometimes they criticize you for the drip. I don't hear you going through these issues though.
But if it's 7 months of depression, you have
that's
to
love.
Is it worth getting a new job, getting a transfer?
That's a great question. I'm not leaving my job if I had one over.
But if you're depressed, if it's getting to the point where it's affecting your work, it's affecting your happiness, you're depressed, you might have to consider.
You might have to
moving. You might have to consider moving on,
that's
or at least getting a. I don't know what type of job it is, but maybe getting.
I'm in a different department.
Different department, desk duty, request to work from home. You may have to consider leaving your job.
Can you be in love with somebody who's not in love with you?
For sure. That happens all the time. You know that. That happens all the time. That happens all the time.
I actually could have happened to you.
Oh, for me.
For you. I can't love nobody who don't love me, yo.
No. We're not doing that.
I may have affinity for you for a little second, like 2 weeks, but after I feel that shit dissipate, that's cool. Prayers to you, my brother. I rock with you. You know, I love you dearly, but And not saying that everybody is disposable, but you got to just work till you get to a point where you can have what you want and have your way. Because if you had 20, I know y'all having that 100 gorilla versus 100 men versus a gorilla combo, but if you got 10 nice ones lined up, a nice little roster of 8, 9, 10, they hit different.
100. We also got to talk about the Shannon Sharpe situation. Okay. We have to more in detail. We talked about it last week, but we got to go like a deep dive into this. But before we do that, what the hell is with this 100 men versus gorilla? Who started that?
I think actually Maul started this back in 2014, and then it got recirculated. I don't know who reposted this and why it got lit, but most men can't knock out another man. Y'all think y'all gonna take down a gorilla?
100 men?
No.
You don't think 100 men could beat a silverback gorilla?
I don't think 100 men brave enough to fight 20 men.
It's all about strategy. If you're trying to fight a silverback gorilla, like everybody's sporadic, spread out, it's not going to work. You got to some people have to be sacrificed.
It's going to be a good 50 off top. You're going to rip off somebody's arm and beat you with it like Caesar and King of the Apes.
You're going to have to lock arms. You're going to have to sacrifice a few men. Yeah. A few good men might have to be sacrificed. They're going to have to figure out exactly how we're going to go about this. Because if you're just trying to freestyle,
it's not going to work. Maybe 100 Navy SEALs, maybe. But 100 normal men that haven't had combat in a while, no. Like the density of their bones is like 3 or 4 times thicker than ours. Like, what are you going to do to hurt it? Most silverback gorillas are like, if they're apex silverback, they can run 25 to 30 miles an hour. Like, men got to stop. Now, if we talking 100 men with Dracos, it's different. But one-on-one, just hand-to-hand combat, nah. But but if y'all want to sign up for it, go to eaninvest.com, put your name in the form, and say you go sign up for it. I'll executive produce it. I'll let you sacrifice yourself for some views. I got you. Shout to them little click babies. Boy, see 100. It'd be 1 episode per season.
Have you been following this Ibrahim Traoré situation?
A little bit. We got to talk about it though. I'm concerned, for real.
Very, very concerning.
Very concerning.
Very concerning. So, on a high level, Ibrahim Traoré, he's become like a kind of a cult hero for the Black community. Burkina Faso, most people, including myself, had never even heard of this country before. And he came to power, I believe like a military coup, but it was not a traditional military coup because it was like a corrupt leader, allegedly. Yeah. And he was a general, a captain, actually, military man. He still keeps the title as captain. He hasn't embraced the title of like president. He doesn't wear suits. He wears military regard. But long story short, he's changing everything as far as the relationship that they have with France. Kicked the French out, took control of their gold mines.
He's like real Killmonger.
Installed national pride. Changed the court system so they not wearing wigs no more, white wigs. Like just really. Installing to do for self mentality and pride and all of that stuff, and it's been championed. And I know I spoke about him before. I know Shaka always posting about him. So now I guess they have this Black general in America. I forget his name, but he went in front of Congress and gave a whole speech about how Ibrahim Traoré is dangerous and how he's stealing gold and how he's a threat to national security. It's funny how none of this stuff, whoever thought about Burkina Faso, now he's now he's getting talked about in front of Congress. Is pretty interesting. And then they took it a step further. So I guess they appointed this guy as like the head of the African region. So he's in Ivory Coast right now. Ivory Coast is a neighboring country to Burkina Faso, and he met with the Ivory Coast president, and he was talking about how we got to stop terrorism and how we. So now they're like, okay, we've seen this movie play out too many times, right?
For sure.
Where all of a sudden, you have fucking Al Qaeda in Burkina Faso. No, like I said, nobody was even thinking about the country. Now it's a hotbed for terrorism.
Yep. Got to
All
start
of
with the
this.
propaganda.
You gotta
Before the
start.
attack, you got to start with the propaganda.
You gotta start with the propaganda to soften it up, to make people fearful, to make, and then you start to empower other fractions inside the country
Mm-hmm.
to cause dissension,
For sure.
right, amongst the ranks and have power. This is typically out of the CIA playbook. This is what has been done traditionally, where you disrupt governments, overthrow governments, allegedly overthrow governments for your own personal interest. And like I said, I mean, I've been around for a long time, and I think that I'm pretty well versed on geopolitics. For me
sure.
to never really hear anything about this country, and now it's the number one threat to America, and now it's the hotbed of terrorism. You don't find that funny? Is it not a suspicious coincidence? Yeah, I guess the guy's name is Michael Langley, the
Shout to
Black
Langley.
American, and he's an African commander. Not surprising they put the black guy in front of head of Africa, but we have to be mindful, and we have to use platforms to educate people to fight against this, because if not, like they didn't have, when Kwame Nkrumah got overthrown and Patrice Lumumba got overthrown, they didn't have social media.
Yep.
Right? So we can't let this new wave of the same playbook continue to happen to any progressive leader that does not fall in line with what America and Europe wants, which is exploitation of Africa forever. That can't just be let happen over and over and over and over again. Like, we have to use our platforms to highlight this issue, because what they're doing, like I said, is they're planting seeds for the eventual overthrow, dismantling of his regime, and it's obvious. And he's the most progressive voice that we have right now on the continent, perhaps on the planet. And we can't let lies, propaganda overthrow progression.
And when you look at it from a financial aspect, if you go factor in what the GDP of America would be without the exploitation, while America seems to be falling from its greatness, they're going to do everything they can. And I agree. We got to use the platforms to highlight it, even though it may be a dangerous topic to talk about. But even if you go look at Gaddafi and what he was trying to bring about, and the currency war and gold wars, and how he was trying to unify Africa, the timing of his death is suspicious, if you will, given everything that was going on in the war and the unrest, and then the support that he had as well. So it's a touchy and tricky topic, but like you said, this is right out of the playbook to any leader that emerges. They definitely want to have a plan to alter his dominance. Yeah, it's tough. But I commend you, because you're one of the first people I've heard, you and Shaka, to talk about it continuously and to even highlight it. So I definitely got to commend you for that, because it's not a easy topic to talk about either.
No, for sure. But I appreciate it. But no, it's important, because like I said, I mean, we can't continue to let the same thing happen over and over again. You got to fight back. You might not be able to fight back military and all, but everybody has a voice, and everybody has a platform. Even if you're just a regular person, now you have a platform. You have 1,000 people that follow you. That's 1,000 people. That's a lot of people. 1,000 people is a lot of people.
Edward Snowden, it reminds me, he started small and then he built his community and word got out. I know he's dealt with some issues, but he revealed a lot of things that Americans didn't know. And I think this is going to be another one of those cases. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah. Well, I'm praying for the brother. And like I said, everybody needs to rally around and support this situation, because this is pretty alarming. But it's not surprising
at all, because we always say we want a leader who will fight back against the regime and be like he's the superhero that Dr. Umar dreamed of. So if we want, he's that now. He's like, to me, the real Killmonger. If we don't support them, we can't complain about not having someone who's coming to save us. So.
And they already foiled like 15 assassinations.
Attacks.
They actually brought like $4 million in. They tried to bribe like his inner circle of like his armed security guard. They foiled the plot. They actually found like it was a whole thing. They brought the $4 million into the country, and then they went along with it, but they already had alerted their superiors. So they tried to bribe his security guards to kill him.
$4 million light though. I mean,
but that speaks to the loyalty that they have for him, because these dudes will sell you out for $100
for sure, and some clicks.
That's a fact. So,
oh man, that's tough. I mean, how much you think somebody in your inner circle will sell you out for? Mitigation of risk. Got to know the number.
Mitigation of risk.
Got to know the number. Hey, yo, why you all mysterious? You ain't gonna get me like that. Me and you the same way. Hey, send it to the office.
That's a fact.
Nope.
That's a fact. Okay, so we gotta talk about this Shannon Sharpe situation.
Do we? Peace
So,
and blessings to Shannon.
We talked about it last week, just on a high level, but you know, it's a lot of lessons to learn from this situation.
A lot.
First and foremost, shout out to Shannon Sharpe.
Yes, friend of the show.
Came on Blackout live at InvestFest last year. Legendary moment. Great orator, public speaker, and an inspiration for many as far as his playing career than what he's been able to do in media.
Yep.
And rise to the top, to the ranks of independence. But there is some valuable lessons to be learned here.
What lessons did you extract from the situation that he's going through? I'm trying to give grace, but
there's a few things that nobody should probably do, because given historical context of United States of America and Black people.
Yep.
Dating a 19-year-old white girl as a 57-year-old Black man is highly unadvisable.
That's sick. I'm not gonna hold you. Shannon, I'm not here to kick you back in, but we just gonna call a spade a spade. That girl was born after G Unit was out. What? My buddy. What? Go ahead.
That's highly unadvisable for a variety of different reasons, right? But okay, let's talk about the 19-year-old part. That's weird to me. It may not be illegal, but it's extremely
immoral.
Weird.
Yep.
What do you have in common with a 19-year-old? You're not even fully developed yet, mentally or physically. 1 year removed from high school.
That's crazy.
That's weird. And then a white 19-year-old girl is even, man,
crazier.
You kind of asking for it on a certain line. I'm sympathetic to Onk. I like him, and
I do too.
I don't want to pour gasoline on the fire, but this is a learning experience that we all can learn from. It's never a good idea to date white teenagers as a 50-year-old Black man. That's just not a good idea. That's not a good idea.
Foul number one. Flagrant foul number one.
Because she's gonna talk anyway. She's a teenager. You don't think she's gonna be telling all her friends and putting it on Snapchat as soon as you do something? Like, her emotional intelligence is not there yet. Now, the phone call seems like a setup. I'm gonna be honest with you. It seemed like a setup. It seemed like they was involved in some kinky vibes. Because even for him to say, like, I'm gonna choke you and all that, that seems like they've already done this before.
Yeah.
And but it's a thin line with that choking thing, because sometimes they might not want to get choked. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a thin line with the what they call it, sadomasochistic sadomasochistic.
Yeah. BDSM. Yeah.
Like the 50 Shades of Grey, like safe words and all that. If you playing that game, have your safe words intact. You should have NDAs, contracts. Like you should have a written verbal agreement, because it's like when you're playing that game, like if you watch CSI, people get killed all the time because of that. Because it's like
for sure, yep.
Like you choking them damn near on the verge of death.
Yep.
But they don't die. But then if you do it 1 second longer, you might actually die. Right.
Yep.
So if you're playing that 50 Shades of Grey game,
got to be careful.
Extremely careful. So he's walking so many dangerous lines. He's walking the 50 Shades of Grey, choking to the verge of death game. Well, that's dangerous. Then he's doing the 19-year-old game. That's dangerous. Then he's doing the 19-year-old white girl game. That's dangerous. So you're talking about playing with fire.
Then on top of that, fellas, I know y'all don't want to hear me. Y'all passport bros don't want to hear me, but I've always said if a girl will sell her body for $4 online, she'll definitely sell you out for $40,000. I don't want $10 million. Got to be mindful. I agree. He got set up. But if you set yourself up and you say certain, like every time I talk to my parents, be careful what you say in text and online. Why? Because at some point, they're going to officially announce we're in a recession, that money going to get tight, and some lawyers going to say, hey, okay, well, he went off on you. That's cool. I represent you for free. Cool. We'll find a little way to get $3 million off you, and then cool. Let me keep 1.2 and you keep the rest. As you are saying, we talked about this before, but the tax on being a successful black man, there's a tax on that. Everyone's trying to find a way to make money off of you once you make it, especially if you're known. And the crazy part is, I went back and watched that Cat Williams interview. That Cat Williams interview was very telling. He was almost warning him, like, I know what you're doing, but you're not going to listen. So I'm going to just warn you of what comes with this. Monique did too. You got to give her credit. And I'm not telling him what he should do, but if you're going to do certain things, you can't be surprised when you get lined up. And I'm going to leave the kingpin out of this, right? But you got to be mindful when you break up a relationship. And if you go destroy Skip's career after, you always got to be mindful of who wants to get their revenge back on you for destroying some shit that they feel like they help you build. Not saying that Skip did it, but if I had a hit show with you, and you always have to be mindful who sent this person to you.
You're right. And also, I think this is a teachable moment for people, because it says a lot about the times that we're in, right? And it's dangerous games that's being played across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to take it into precaution. So it's almost like, I hate to use this analogy, but it's almost like you gotta treat this situation like you're almost like you're a drug kingpin, as far as don't talk on the phones. That's how they got jammed up, right? Like with BMF, like don't talk on the phone.
Yep.
If it said, like, even camera said, like, if it starts to sound like a weird conversation, like if you're into that kinky type of shit, right? Phone sex, not the best way to go about it
at all.
Just have some in-person experience. You got to watch what you text people.
For sure.
You
always got to think about how to read if it's read out in court by a white lawyer,
or if somebody screenshot and send it
for sure.
Watch what you're putting in your text. Watch what you're writing on DM.
Mm-hmm.
Watch what you send in on voice notes, because voice notes can be recorded
for sure
and
saved.
And watch what you're saying on the phone. Like if he was really paying attention, you could tell that kind of seemed like a setup.
Yeah.
Like I said, you almost got to treat it. This is why in this day and age,
mitigation of risk.
The best thing that you probably can do
for sure
is actually get married.
For sure. You are good.
No, I'm just saying, right? Like, because
you're not lying, though.
At the end of the day, it's so much shit. It's so risky. It's so much risk.
And for what? And she's not even that tough to 25,000 a cheek. There are no cheeks there. Girl size 1 in panty show. Like, what the fuck are we talking? What? But you're right. Fellas, discipline. And I've been telling them this in Stock Club all the time, like, because they'll hit me like, yo, I know you when you get to such and such, you're gonna vibe and do this. No, you have to look at every person as, if this goes wrong, it could cost me $200,000 or $300,000, whether it's child support, lawsuit, and I don't have the best temperament. So if you say something like I'm crazy, people are like, shit, I can see that. Like, you have to be mindful of the people that you come across. You can't vibe with everybody.
You can't.
You can't.
And like
cannot.
I know they're gonna be like, "Whoa, you're saying that you're not married." That doesn't mean that I don't believe in the institution of marriage.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that that's the safest. Not to say that that's the you should do that tomorrow, but I'm just saying that is the safest play right now in 2025. Is that play is actually the safest play. Now you could proceed the other way, but just be careful. If you're not willing to be careful, or you don't have the discipline to be careful, then just do the safe route, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, it is a level of stress. Like, who really wants to live their life like watching how they talk on the cell phone, watching how they have to text? But if you playing that game, you have to take those levels of precaution.
Yeah.
Or
and the lawsuit is the new have a baby on you. That's the other elite level. You got different levels of extortion, right? And not saying to men, because if you don't take care of your kids, I don't rock with you. But there's tiers of the extortion. This is like the final boss level. You know, they got the little IG baddie pack. The pack. This is the lawsuit pack that you have to be mindful about. Fellas, be careful how you move. Ladies, we'll talk about it one day, but there's a lot of men preying on women that are doing well. Gotta be mindful. You gotta be mindful.
And the thing about it too is, all right, he offered her $10 million and she turned it down.
I would listen. I'm not offering the 10 if I'm guilty. Get it back in blood. What?
No, I can understand the 10. I can understand the 10 because let's say it's been reported. It's been reported that he was trying to get a $100 million podcast deal. Let's say that was far short. Let's say 40 million. Let's say
40. Okay.
Let's say the real number is 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he's also probably getting $10 million from all ESPN and the other stuff that he has going on. So let's say in grand scheme of things, he has $60 million on the table from endorsements, ESPN,
sponsors on Nightcap,
podcast deal for his network, sponsorships, speaking engagements. Let's say on the table over the next 48 months, he has $60 million on the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I got to give up 10 to protect 60, that's a good deal.
Or the Wolves will look at it like, this is the problem with agreeing to ransoms and extortion. If you give me 10, I know you got 25.
Well, that's what happened. And that's why we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Nope.
We don't negotiate with terrorists. But I can understand, because some people, and this is a business lesson too, some people say like, okay, well, if you're innocent, you're not going to give somebody money. That's not true. Settlements happen all the time. In the corporate world or in the business world, because they just don't want to fight. I know personally corporations that have settled with situations because it's just less of a headache.
For sure. There's been people that joined Stock Club 3 years prior, asked for a refund, opposed to having to go to court. I'll just give them the refund and not deal with the headache. It's better than they ended up in deposition and all other shit. Like, it's angles everywhere. So I understand that sentiment, but the tricky part is if you offer 10, and then who knows who's in their ear. Well, I can help you get 80. So it went from 10 to now 80, but they'll get 20. It's tough. You gotta move with integrity. But also to be mindful of the character of the person that you date. If they do certain things, not to judge them, but I think if you will do certain things, I think setup comes with that. If the subscription for a month, you gonna lie to me. You'll kill me for 40,000. Allegedly. Not to cast any aspersion on other content creators, but
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll monitor the situation.
Yeah. Prayers for all involved.
Shannon, hold your head. I do believe that you're a good person.
Yep.
And I think you're gonna get through this, but just keep in mind that next time around, just gotta be more careful.
Yeah, you should have just stuck with Michelle. Should have just stuck with Michelle, yo. So,
okay, all right, okay. Who
the top 5 gatekeepers? Come on. Thank you for the edit. Boy. Next subject. After Invest Fest. Got you.
After Invest Fest.
Got you.
Okay. Is it time to talk about all right, let's do this. Christopher Columbus. Let's talk about this. We talked about it briefly on Market Mondays, but Donald Trump put a tweet out, or it's on Truth Social, one of these platforms, where he's planning on fully. It's not like Columbus Day is done, but so if you all right, for full context, right?
Yeah.
When we were in school, like little kids in school, we had to go to when Thanksgiving came around, they showed us how Christopher Columbus came to Plymouth Rock, and how him and the Indians had lunch together, and it was a peaceful thing, and they gave them gifts, and and Christopher Columbus was championed as a hero. And think of all the stuff that's named after Christopher Columbus. District of Columbia, the country, Columbia, all of this, counties all across America, Columbia,
Yep.
Columbus, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio.
Drive, yeah.
You can, list goes on, right? But as the truth starts to get revealed over the course of time, we realize that Christopher Columbus had no idea what he was doing. Thought he was going to India, ended up 3,000 miles away in the Caribbean. That's why they called them Indians, because he actually thought that he was in India. Rapist, murderer, millions, damn near. Him and the conquistadors responsible for killing probably upwards of 5 million native people across the Caribbeans, America, South America. Pillaged, took land. Not a good group of people.
Nope.
Not a good group of people. Nothing to be championed. And so that history starts to come out, right? And it's disrespectful to native people, because it's like, how much disrespect can a person take, right? It's bad enough you take the land, and then you eradicate the history, and then you damn near kill off 95% of the population, and then you relegate the rest to far out lands in the middle of nowhere that nobody wants, and leads to high levels of alcoholism and suicide
and depression
rate.
Yep.
And then it's like every year you gotta be reminded of this with this dumbass Thanksgiving and Columbus Day, right? Which has been whitewashed completely. And so now they, like, when Columbus Day comes, it's Columbus Day and Indigenous Day at the same time, and right, and a lot of those statues of Columbus have been taken down, and the history has been starting to be changed about how they. So he's changing that. He's going back to. He's fully non-apologetic about whitewashing history, and says that this is part of the agenda. This is in probably 2025 too.
I was just gonna say, wasn't this a part of Project 2025 that everyone said it wasn't real?
How can you not say that this dude, like, how do you think Trump, like, anybody that thinks Trump is a good person, you're racist. You're racist if you think that Trump is a good person, black or white, because it's like you can agree with his politics, you could agree with his economic stance, even though that's falling apart terribly. But to say somebody's a good person, right, who is overtly trying to whitewash history at the highest levels that we've seen in the last 50 years, even in the Smithsonian, they've taken away all remnants of slavery, of Jim Crow, of Harriet Tubman, of all taking away all of that, right? That's what you do when you whitewash history. Is you change
which
the
has been done
perception of how
historically.
things.
Yep.
This is what happened in ancient Egypt. This is why when you see Cleopatra is being played by
Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah. Because if you can convince the world that everything that happened historically that was have any benefit was from white people only, then you can maintain white supremacy.
For sure. You
blow the nose off the Sphinx, right? You make sure that every picture of Jesus is only white hair and blue eyes. This is not a theory. This is actual fact, right? Like, you never wondered why every single thing in history, no matter where it was, in Africa, Egypt is in Africa. They're
allegedly, according to some people, they act like it's not, like it's in Switzerland.
They're white, right?
Yep.
On how it's depicted, they're white. The European, they're white. Anything that ever happened good in society has only been depicted with a white face on it. So this Christopher Columbus thing is a little bit, it's just like really, really dangerous, because once you start to, this has already been debunked. Right. So now you're trying to debunk something that has already been debunked. What's next? Where else do you go? Right. And as far as history to champion overt enemies of any native people, but specifically black people. Because when you're talking about native people, those are black people. If we really want to be technical about it.
Yep.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So all right, that's why.
What do you like? Okay, why is he so in love with the failed Voyager?
Why is Trump so in love with it?
Yep,
it speaks to ideology of white supremacy, that white people came to America to civilize and conquer, and this is something that
their own history books know that's not true though. Like, those are the people that got kicked out of England and come on. I don't want to go to the finance part, but also if you look at who financed Columbus, it's very fascinating as well. So, but I mean, he was a failed voyager. We're giving too much credence to a person who like got lost too many times.
That's a fact. And then for all the people that's gonna be like, "Oh, you said Trump's not a good person," but Biden, I don't think is a good person either.
Hello,
like two things can be true simultaneously. Like, you know what I'm saying? I never said Biden.
Yeah, I ain't forget them clips from 1980 and 84 and all that. Yeah,
I don't have Biden as a good person in my book either.
Yeah,
but we're not talking about him right now. We're talking about Trump because he's currently in office. So, man, this shit. At what point does it stop? You taking Harriet Tubman, you taking Harriet Tubman out? Like, you trying to take her out of history? Like, it never existed.
That's why. What's that quote they have? The victors write history, or get remembered in the record books. If they could, they would do away with Obama's presidency as well.
50 years, they probably will. 100 years.
Will not be surprised.
He'll be white. He'll be depicted as a white person.
But for everybody who said Project 2025 wasn't real, I haven't seen those comments as much. And a couple of those authors been talking shit. The project going better than they thought.
They're already 50% done. Part of it was already like the dismantlement of the Department of Education, the senior citizens paying mandated prescriptions, like all of this stuff. They're 50% on their way there already.
Yep. So to that, what do you guys have to say? Who said Project 2025 wasn't real when it's an actual document that you can read? What do we know? Yeah.
But my thing is, like, do you think that he really thinks this way in his brain, or he's just pandering to white wing white supremacists that just have put him in power?
I don't think he thinks that it's real, but he's going to do what he needs to do to push that supremacist agenda. I keep saying, like, in the first episode we talked about, like, there's a financial benefit for racism and classism, and they don't want that to decay as they're seeing their lead in the world dwindle away. It's the only technology that they've been able to spread worldwide that they get most of the equity from. So why would I tell you about your history? Even when, like, it's interesting even here in Texas for them to talk about the illegal immigrant situation when Texas, Oklahoma, Nevada, California was Mexico's. It's like you're telling people to get out of their land that which actually is native to them, Arkansas. And so, but if I can push an agenda and it'll benefit me and my constituents, and then even if you're not directly benefited, if you are a lower class white American, the thesis is, well, at least you're not black. The skin alone should be equity enough. So, but baby boy, if them poll numbers not looking good, you hit this recession. It's been a lot of people who are not of melanated descent that are turning on you real quick.
GDP has shrunk for the first time since I think
2023, maybe.
Yeah, a couple years. It's been years.
So that's market. pillar number one. Stock
market down. Economic rating. He has the lowest approval rating in 80 years for his first 100 days. It's all fun and games to people who's starving. All this games that you playing with Christopher Columbus and all that, like you're pandering to a face, but you're gonna at some point in time you're gonna have to answer some real problems. It's not gonna be transgender volleyball girls. It's not gonna be Christopher Columbus. It's gonna be dude in Columbus, Ohio. Don't have no money. Yeah.
Yep.
But these people, but you know the public is ignorant anyway, though. So they're gonna support them no matter what, including some black people as well. You know, the vast majority of people are ignorant. So with that being said, even if they're struggling, even if they fucked up, they'll find a way to blame it on somebody else, blame it on China, blame it on black people. Black people will find a way to blame it on black people. That's why it's almost over for me personally. I'm not doing this too much longer, man, because it's not.
Next time you take that voyage over, not the strip, but the next voyage.
Look, man,
fantastic voyage. I kept telling everyone when I start going to other places and they not look happier, they are happier dramatically. It's over with. I know y'all get mad when we say things like that or podcasting is dead. Look at the data. Everything I say is data driven. I may put some spice on it, but no. I don't think anybody on either aisle is elated with the performance of the first 100 days.
It's embarrassing. It's actually embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But okay. The topic of discussion, Shedeur Sanders. Man, where do we begin? This is something that has been pretty historic. So Shedeur is a person that throughout the course. Well, all right. First, let's bring this in full perspective.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders was high school, played for his father in high school and was a star quarterback in high school in Texas, right? Then goes to Jackson State, and part of everybody else, and of course, Travis Hunter, but leads Jackson State to perennial power in the SWAC. They go to the SWAC championship, right? They lost, but they go to the SWAC championship. So he was a winner at the SWAC. He won in high school. He won at the SWAC. Then they go to Colorado team that won one game.
Colorado was trash. Shout out to everybody in Boulder, but Colorado was trash before they got there.
The year that they got there, they won one game. I think the first year they won like 4 games. Last year they won 9 games. Top 25 team. I mean, if you look at his stats under pressure, tremendous. Won a game with a Hail Mary pass, terrible offensive line, but performed under pressure every single time. And most people leading up, during the season, most people consider him a top 10 pick easy. A lot of people had him a number 1 pick, anywhere from number 1 to number 3, number 5. Mel Kiper, who's one of the most respected people when it comes to the NFL draft ratings. Going into the NFL draft, Mel Kiper had him as the number 1 quarterback on his list, ahead of Cam Ward. Cam Ward. Who Cam Ward, shout out to him, he was the number 1 pick in the draft. Mel Kiper had him ahead of Cam Ward and had him the number 3 overall pick in the draft.
Yeah.
he gets drafted in the 5th round and is the 144th pick. I think 5 quarterbacks was drafted ahead of him. Pretty astonishing, to be honest with you, right? Loses obviously a tremendous amount of money as far as his NFL contract is concerned. And it leads to people saying, what the hell happened? Was it collusion amongst NFL owners and executives to humble Deion Sanders, the family, set an example,
for sure,
lower his player profile, the whole thing. So this story is interesting on so many different levels, but I'll let you say your thoughts on this. What do you think about this?
I think the obvious is there. I know they're going to say, well, Deion said they're not going to certain cities, but it was okay when Eli Manning and family did it. I think this was done to send a message to Deion. And I think if we're going to be very honest, back to that tax on if you're rich and known. How much did he make in college?
$6.5 million NIL deal last year.
So he's making more in college than he did in the NFL. People can say, well, he was arrogant in the interviews or he came in pompous. I remember Johnny Manziel coming in very pompous. And Johnny wasn't better than Shedeur. Baker Mayfield. Back in the day, even though he played the humility card well for Brandon, Tim Tebow had a bunch of hubris too. Tebow was not a better quarterback than Shedeur. But I think sometimes when going back to this point, especially in the year of DEI, I'm not surprised this happened. I think they want to send a message to him and his family and anyone who's a megastar in the college space who is doing well in NIL. I'm going to find a way to humble you. For those of you who are listening, you can argue maybe, okay, he wasn't top 5. No one had him projected going in the 5th round, though.
It's
egregious,
unprecedented.
Yeah. To fall that far with no actual on the field basis for it. And you can talk about character, but if we're going to be honest, most of the people that are elite athletes have some hubris to them. That may be, but the hubris that he's talking about has been earned. So if I can humble you and your family and make an example out of you in a public humiliation type of thing, cool, because it's going to set the tone for the next 10 to 20 years for people. And for anyone who black who made that post about the other kid, he wasn't flashy, he was in a suit, he wasn't flashy because he doesn't have the stats that Shedeur has. Like, let's stop that racism stops that if you dress well. It was a lot of people who got lynched who were in suits. That matters not to the system. But what do you think was the reason why he was drafted so late?
So this back to the Ibrahim Traoré situation, right? What they do is that they start to diminish your character with reports. So it makes it easier for people to understand why the racism has taken place. Yep. So now they're saying like, okay, well, his interview with the Giants, he wasn't prepared and he sabotaged.
The Giants don't draft anybody black. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off. What black quarterback has the Giants have?
Right. And then he sabotaged all these. My thing is, all of these things that are coming out simultaneously, you think that that's done coincidental? No, it's an asserted effort for the NFL to try to save face. And now they're trying to diminish his reputation even more by saying that there was a reason. Well, there's no reason. I don't give. You have people in the NFL that were literally serial killers.
Literally.
Rapists, robbers,
yes, abusers,
dealers, you name it, coke addicts. If you can play, you're supposed to get drafted in the NFL. So to say that this person has never had any off-field issues, he's never had any drug, he's never failed a drug test, he's never got caught for domestic violence, he never robbed anybody, he's never had any off-field issues as far as questioning his character.
Yeah,
you saying that he dropped from number 3 to number 144 because his attitude in interviews, that's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Right. I think that it was done to diminish Deion Sanders,
for sure, and his power,
family, and to set an example going forward that we are in control of this league, not you. Yep. Understand that. And the NFL has always maintained more control over their players than any other sports league. Their players have less leverage. Their union is not as strong. They make less money, and the owners make more money. So the NBA, the things that have happened in the NBA would not have ever happened
in the NFL.
And they constantly have to set an example to make you understand, once again, nobody's bigger than the program.
Yeah.
And if you think you are bigger than the program, you're going to be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
And you're going to suffer a humiliating, humbling experience.
Yeah.
And that's what that was. That was a humiliating, humbling experience.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is that he actually is not in a bad situation. That's the crazy thing about it. Like, he's actually in a position where he can start on day one. And that's the crazy
it's Cleveland, though.
Well, you're only going to start on a bad team.
That's true.
You're not going to start on a good team. Like, he's not going to Kansas City and starting. So the great thing is, after he dropped out of the second round, a lot of the analysts were saying that, okay, now they're not going to draft him because it's obvious that he's going to be either a second or third string quarterback. So you don't want your second and third string quarterback to mess up your locker room, your chemistry. You don't want to deal with like Willie Beeman as a third string option.
Yeah.
And that's why he slid it. But now it's like the Cleveland Browns don't have a quarterback. Deshaun Watson is their quarterback. He's coming off of his second Achilles.
That's tough.
He's not playing. Joe Flacco, he's almost 40 years old. Probably.
Joe Flacco still playing?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Joe Flacco got to be damn near 40. Maybe older. I don't know.
Maybe older, yeah.
Maybe older. Then you got Kenny Pickett and Dalen Gabriel. And Kenny Pickett, I think, that's the guy they drafted before him. They drafted two quarterbacks in this draft, which is crazy.
They got a full quarterback roster.
Drafted another quarterback who more than likely is going to be behind the fifth round quarterback. So Shedeur is actually in a pretty good position to start.
Yeah.
If not on day one, before the end of the season, you have to like his odds of actually becoming a starting quarterback.
And he's still a star, and he's going to draw, and he should move some tickets. And if they get in a position, now it's Cleveland, so I don't know what the management's going to do. Shout out to everyone there, but if they get in a position to look like they can be somewhat competitive, it could be a hell of a turnaround story. I just hate that they try to diminish his value over perceived ego. And even if he has ego, y'all don't think Tom Brady had ego, or even Roethlisberger, or people who may not have not won? Like that ego thing, like T.O. used to say it all the time. Like, when I do it, I'm a bad teammate. When Brady does it, it's passion.
Or Kobe Bryant.
Yep. Luka's screaming on everybody, coaches, refs, everybody. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, he said Pickett back up last year. He was a bust in Pittsburgh. Dylan Gabriel was Oregon's QB. And so that's the quarterback they drafted before Shedeur was Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
From Oregon. So we'll see what happens. But
kudos to Shedeur, kudos to Deion.
It's been done now, but he does have the number 3 selling jersey for rookies.
That's amazing.
So we'll see where that goes as far as his popularity. But then this brings us to another related topic: NIL deals. So what's interesting is that he made $6.5 million in NIL money last year. Being that he's the 5th round draft pick, the most he can make for the next 4 years is $1.1 million. He'll have some endorsements for sure.
Yeah.
But that's obviously less money than he made last year, right? And then somebody who probably won't have a lot of endorsements is Texas Longhorns quarterback last year, Quinn Ewers. So he's interesting, Quinn Ewers. So, Texas had that quarterback controversy almost because they got Arch Manning.
Yeah,
Arch Manning wasn't the starter. Quinn was actually projected to be like the number 1 quarterback, and then he got hurt the number one quarterback in the country. He got hurt. Arch stepped in. Then Quinn came back. Quinn finished the season as a starting quarterback. But long story short, he was getting $6 million a year last year. Like the last 2 years, he was getting $6 million a year from Texas. But it was Arch's time for next season, so they kind of like forced him out. But they said reportedly that he would have been probably the top player in the transfer portal, one of the top players in the transfer portal. And he could have got $8 million in the transfer portal if he would have transferred to another school, right? So he turned down potentially $8 million for another year in college to go pro. He got drafted in the 7th round, and now he's going to be making $900,000 a year. So
I'd have went right to student union in Miami.
He lost $7 million on that one. So this is interesting. I put on Instagram, I'm like, who would have thought? Who would have ever predicted that you can actually be making less money by going pro?
By going pro. Yep. And given all the games that are played in the NFL, kudos to Raiders organization, Dolphins, Bears, etc. Not y'all, but the games that are played amongst ownership. And it also goes to show you how long these like financial mishaps have been happening, and then the contracts are not guaranteed. Like, how does a sport that generates that much money not have guaranteed contracts for most of its players? It's going to be really hard for a lot of players if you're making $3 and $4 million to then go make $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 after. Winning the college game, you can argue, has fanatics just as big as the NFL.
And it's not as dangerous. Like, let's put things in perspective.
That's a great point.
You're playing less games.
Yes.
You're playing against a lower level of competition, and you're playing against players that's not as physically dominant as in the NFL. So if you could make $8 million, and you know, football is still a dangerous game no matter what you're playing.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's quote unquote easier playing in college than playing in the NFL. Right? Yep. The toll on your body, the all of the games, the practice, the college is not going to be as dangerous, and you're going to be able to be a better player in college because there's less talent. They're not as talented as the NFL, and there's more teams, which also gives you opportunity to make more money, right? Because it's like, okay, if there's 100 Division I teams, and let's say that there's 50 that's really competitive as far as an NIL race. Yep. Well, that's more than the NFL teams, right? So an NFL team, they might only be drafting 5-7 quarterbacks a year in the draft, 10 quarterbacks a year coming up, but you need 50 quarterbacks in college, 70 quarterbacks in college, right? Yeah. So now that window to be an elite college player, you can go to Virginia, you can go to North Carolina now, you can go to Florida, you can go to Texas, you can go to Alabama, you can go to Colorado. So you got a variety of different options. Go make millions of dollars and be a star, right?
And make more money. And $7 million to be on a college campus is like $75 million if you like in the real world. What?
The race to go to the NFL is not as appealing as it used to be. If I'm gonna be the man in college, make potentially more money, play against lower competition, and be able to have my freedom on a certain level, because I'm not, dealing with all of the mental tasks that I have to deal with as a professional athlete.
For sure.
I mean, that's not really a bad option to just stay in school, but it also brings up this NIL thing is run amok. I think they're gonna have new rules that come out because
they're gonna put a cap on it.
Yeah, I think they're gonna put a cap on it. I heard rumors of $16 million per school, but what's happening now?
What? That's the total pot for all the players?
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Wow,
that could happen. But because what's happening now is that this is actually more unregulated than the NFL. Like in NBA, you could transfer every single year.
Yes,
right? Like, you can't go to you have to be traded to leave in the NBA or NFL, or you have to be a free agent. You sign a 3-year deal, you're locked in for 3 years unless you get traded. You imagine if the NFL, imagine if there was only 1-year contracts in the NFL and NBA. Imagine how crazy
that would be insane. Yeah, you could
imagine if LeBron and Luke every single year They can
trading
leave,
teams. Yeah.
right? That's crazy. If you got more money and imagine if there's no salary cap in the NBA, NFL. Imagine if that. So imagine if every single year, the best player is changing teams based off of what team is going to pay him more money. That would be crazy as hell.
That would be insane. That'd be insane. Pat would get $70 million a year.
That's a fact. It would be we would have $1 billion contracts right now.
Easily.
Right now, we would have $1 billion contracts. That's what's happening in college. There's no salary cap. There's no minimum as far as how long you have to stay. There's no, you can leave at whenever you want after the season is over. And now kids are staying for 6 years. They had the COVID year, but now with the JUCO rules, right? Play 2 years in JUCO, then you still got your eligibility. So that's why, like Rick Pitino was like, we're not even recruiting any high school kids. What's the point? St. John's lost their best player in the transfer portal.
Yep.
But they have the best transfer portal recruiting class. They're going to be a top 5 school next year.
Yeah. He's on the way to make his way. Yep.
And now you got all of these schools have general managers. Shaquille O'Neal, the general manager of Sacramento State. Steph Curry is the general manager of Davidson.
Yep.
Right. So Sacramento State is interesting because it's like, okay, you get Shaq as a general manager for your basketball team. Sacramento State was never a powerhouse in basketball. But you get Mike Bibby as your head coach. You just signed Mikey Williams in the transfer portal. So now schools that never were powerhouses can become
have a chance.
Yeah. Look at BYU.
Yep. They have a chance.
$6 million, $5 million, whatever they paid the kid, $5 million for the number 1 player in the country. Now he's going to BYU.
Yeah, and Trae Young at Oklahoma as well. It's fascinating. So, it's an interesting time in sports.
It's an interesting time for sure. But it's bad because now all these high school kids is reclassifying 2-3 years, because how can you compete if you come out of high school at 17 or 18 years old with somebody that's 25 years old?
That's a great point.
Right? So now you got to reclassify. You got to go through the JUCO ranks. It's messing up high school basketball. It's ruining college sports. That's why, like, even in the NCAA tournament, every team that made it was a number 1 seed. There's no more Cinderellas or anything like that, because the thing with the Cinderellas is that they had an advantage because all of the top schools, the players were doing one and done. And the Cinderellas, they were able to build their team over the course of time. And they would have, like, okay, now you have a senior or a bunch of juniors, and those kids stayed in school for 4 years. They were better than the one freshman class of Kentucky, and they could potentially beat them. But now that's going out the window, because all of those kids in the mid-majors, if they are good enough after their sophomore year, they're transferring to a powerhouse anyway.
To a better school, yep.
And now all of the powerhouses have 6-year seniors and 5-year seniors and 26-year-old. So
that's crazy.
It's run amok.
Do you think they should cap the NIL
for sure?
Money though?
I think they should, and people's gonna be mad at me because you gotta have some level of it's like, why should they cap? Why should they have a salary cap in basketball? You gotta have some organization. I don't think they should. You gotta have some organization here, because it's ruining sports. Like, imagine the idea of being the idea of being a student athlete is out the window. Because if we're gonna be honest, it always was. Once we got to a certain amount of ratings and jersey sales and shit, they didn't care about them being great students. They cared about them being able to be on the court or the field. If we're gonna be honest, this is true going back to the 70s and 80s. I 100% agree, but at least you were able to get an academic experience, a student experience. You was able to stay. Like, there's some value to that. Me as a student athlete, I'm speaking from firsthand experience, and somebody that transferred schools, right? I understand when you transfer schools, some of your credits don't even transfer.
Yep.
So it's like, I transferred after my sophomore year, right? Imagine transferring 3 or 4 times in the course of 4 years, right? School is not even a thought at that point.
But if you're getting $600,000 a year, the credits don't mean nothing.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying. So it's like, why even just have school at all? Just make it a club. Just make the athletics part of your school program, but don't even count school, like, because
regulatory issues.
The school is out the window at this point.
For sure.
These kids is transferring every single year, and role players are getting paid. Like a role player get paid
Are getting money.
$200,000, $300,000, $300,000. Like if you're an elite player, you'll get a couple million, but even a role player. So like I heard a story about this kid. He was I think a lineman, and he was going to LSU, and LSU had like 75,000 for him, like a role player. And he went to Indiana because Indiana gave him 120,000.
Shout out to IU.
But Indiana might not had even been the better situation for him. But he's like it. 120, that's more money.
120 is 120, my boy.
But I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, that $50,000, whatever it is difference, right? Is that really worth not being in? I'm not saying Indiana's not, but I'm just saying hypothetically.
Bloomington's tough in the wintertime. I'm not going to lie.
Let's say that LSU was the program that was really going to get him to the NFL.
Yeah.
And he's thinking short-sighted and just said, if you're going to pay me more money, like it's not like what I'm saying is that coaching and relationships and mentorship, all that shit is going out the window now. It's about money.
I would argue it's always been about money. It's just the players weren't getting it. I remember when shout to Jared, shout to AJ. I remember when AJ and then beat Jason Williams in the tournament. I think AJ sold $3 million worth of jerseys and then get $1 from Indiana.
So let me ask you this. Everybody talks about Shedeur Sanders, and then nobody ever talks about Travis Hunter. If you're going to give
that's a great point.
You think Travis Hunter would have been the player that he is if it wasn't for Deion Sanders?
Absolutely not.
Like he would have been a great player no matter what, right? He's a number one player in high school. Like he's gonna be a star NFL player. But what I'm saying is the guidance of somebody that's actually did it.
At the highest level matters so much.
Very few people in the world have done what Deion Sanders played. He played receiver and defensive back and special teams.
Yes.
But he also played football and baseball. Right? So it's like, you know how rare it is to have the tutelage of somebody that's actually done what you did. So I think that he coached. I think he doesn't get credit for coaching Travis Hunter up
into that position.
For that position. But what I'm saying is this. He started at Jackson State, right? If the NIL, if it was all about NIL money, Travis Hunter would have went to Alabama. He would have went to LSU. He would have went to Michigan. He would have never played with Deion Sanders if it was just about money.
Yeah.
If it was just about money, he would have never played for Deion Sanders. So some things in life are bigger than money.
I agree, but you can argue Travis and Deion are one of one. Like even no one talks about it, but after the transfer portal became available, when Nick Saban stepped down the way he did, I'm like, I thought it was fascinating. So I get it. But even with seeing what Shedeur went through, and I think he was supposed to get 45 if he was drafted, top 5, then to only get 4, it's kind of hard to tell a kid who his family may not be in the best financial situation to not take that money. So has it tainted the game? For sure. But I think the game has been tainted long before NIL got introduced into the market.
I agree. This is interesting times.
For sure.
Okay. What's the most you would pay to be with a woman? What does that even mean?
Zero. That was a question from the audience off the Shannon Sharpe. I want to answer your question, my boy. Zero.
Zero sesante.
And even I know y'all to make tricking pop. I come from an era where that's not the move. I'm sorry. Y'all can do what y'all want. Y'all can be mad, whatever you want to. But what? Zero. If I can't get it off my own game, my own vibe, I don't want it. I am sorry. So, and you see, he started paying, and she wanted more payment. How you get them is how you gonna lose them. So y'all can leave with the bag and all other shit, and not the move, yo. It is not the move at all. So, but what do I know? We're not married. Shout out to y'all married fellas who was mad about me blowing up your spot by y'all asking what a work at InvestFest. Be faithful, my boy. Be faithful, lock you in, like how you be pretending to do online.
Okay. So he's saying that it's boys, especially.
Yeah.
The number one thing you can do is love their mother.
Yes, that's the video says.
Wake it up.
Oh my
Wake it
God.
up. Wake it up. Wake it up.
I don't want no smoke, so I'm gonna put on a cape. I do think it's important for the relationship between the mother and father to be strong. I think too many times though, for content, the three things, the five things, the one thing, I don't think there's just purely one thing. If we're going off of empirical data, does it have an impact? For sure. Are there other things that I think are needed that will predict the success of children? Because what about the boys that grow up in single family homes that don't have both people present to even show or express that kind of love? It doesn't mean it's the ideal scenario, but I think too many times we want to boil everything in life down to one thing, and it's usually a combination of factors that lead to that success. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I mean, of course, I think that's something that is helpful for sure. I mean, I don't think that, but I think just because you love somebody's mother doesn't mean that they're going to be a successful person.
And we're not anti-love, because you need great
Yeah, no, you
parenting.
should do that. I'm just saying that's one thing that you should do for sure.
Yeah.
If it's possible to do it, but I think it's a variety.
It's always possible, even if it's from a distance.
It's a variety of things that go into making sure that a child is, successful in life. It's not as, I don't think it's as easy as just that.
Yeah, but I when these kind of talks come out, I would like to see the data and study around them, because a lot of times they'll sneak in. Well, we did a study, and the study was 500 people or 80 people. So I like a study that may run for a decade or longer. But interesting question was brought up. If you see your ex in public with somebody, do you go up to your ex and say something to them, or do you leave it alone and just kind of let them vibe on their own?
There's a variety of different factors that go into play here. It depends on your relationship with the ex.
So y'all in a great space.
If you're in a great space with somebody, there's a few different things, even in social settings. They can come in. You can see somebody from afar.
Yep.
You would have to go out of your way to walk up to a person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would do all that. That might not be necessary. If you're in close proximity, meaning you're in a party, let's say you're in a cocktail party or dinner or whatever, and you guys are next to each, unavoidable.
Yeah.
I'm going to
not
speak.
Be rude.
I'm going to speak because that's going to be awkward. I'm not going to look at you and then turn my head like I don't see you. That's awkward, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? Oh, this is X, Y, and Z. Oh, brother.
You doing a handshake, or are you giving a hug like Michael Ealy did?
Well, I'm never gonna pick another man's wife up. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you do a hug. Hey, how's it going? Yes. Oh, what's up, my brother? How you doing? Good to see you, man. It's not. Look, everybody has an ex. We have to be mature about this.
Most people not mature, Rashad. You know this is Wake It Up. Most people are not secure or mature.
Yeah, for sure. But everybody has an ex. Everybody has a future. Everybody has a present. So just because you dated somebody, that doesn't mean that they're never gonna date somebody ever again.
That's true. But you're not going across the room to make sure at Taco Madera that you like, yo, hey, how you doing?
No. That's unnecessary. That's unnecessary. Like, I'm saying, like, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna go out of my way to talk to somebody that I used to talk to while they're with their boyfriend. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
And it's borderline weird and disrespectful combined.
What if it's just a vibe though?
Huh?
What if it's just a vibe? No ex.
I'm still not going to do it. I don't plus player interference, pass interference.
For sure.
Flag on the play. But like I
said, a lot of y'all be dirty macking like that. Women too. Women are dirty mac like that. Hey, I ain't seen you in a while, girl.
But if we cross paths, and it's unavoidable, I will. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
You good too.
That's happened before, and then I've heard dudes like question like, "Yo,
who is that? How you know him? Oh, that'd be the worst, yo."
And we got a little bit of notoriety, a little bit, like just a little bit,
and the dinner look awkward after.
So that I know firsthand that has happened before, where they'd be like, "Yo, how you know him?
How you? Yeah. What was that about? You know what it's about. You know what it's about. Don't, if you gotta ask, you know what it's about. All y'all who do the little dry hating, don't talk to Ian Rashad. You know they arrogant. She knew that before. That's what she like.
And let me put you on some game. If you were the real one, she gonna tell you
up front.
Yo, I just want to be honest, but you know what I'm saying, like, you know, we had a situation years ago. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, out of respect for you, I just want you to know. I want you to, because that's respectful. I want you to know the plane. I want you to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yes.
When you out here, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, out of respect for you, since I'm a real one, I'm gonna let you know, like, you know, this is somebody from my past.
That I used to deal. Yeah. I don't want
you shouldn't have to ask her. If you gotta ask her,
you with the wrong one.
Once again, the answer doesn't matter.
Don't matter. Yep.
Yo,
if she's not forthcoming with it, she really not fucking with you.
The day I asked a girl, "How do you know him?"
Oh, that's a wrap. It's a wrap. Go home.
I will walk barefoot to Vegas before
on glass, right?
Ask a girl that I'm with after she hugs somebody, "Hey, how do you know him?"
And if you got to ask too many questions, it's time to wrap it up. I know y'all can say, "Yo, you detach easily" and all that. Y'all put up with too much bullshit, to be honest. But once again, a lot of times people stick around if they can't replace.
That's a fact.
It's a mistake. And then the women know if you can't replace either. That's why a lot of y'all be hating the content too. That's the other conversation we're going to have one day, maybe today. A lot of y'all don't be supporting how y'all want to because the person you love support a lot. BTS, behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. The behind the scenes play.
So, what's the most you pay to be with a woman?
Attention. That's more valuable than money anyway. You know that.
This motherfucker is good, yo. I can't get him. I tried. I can't get him. Damn. Oh man.
Oh man.
I waited till he was relaxed and calm.
You know that, man. That's more valuable than money, man. If I pay attention to you, that means a lot.
That's currency, right?
That's currency.
The value of that's still going up, unlike our dollar.
That's a fact.
Yes. Enjoy your time in heaven.
That is a fact.
Because the alternatives is terrible out here.
That's a fact.
Be the vibe, see the vibe.
Okay. Where we at?
How to restore order.
How to restore? Oh yeah. What's the question? How to restore order in relationships?
Entitlement in relationships have run amok. How do we curb it before it's too late? Is this in relationships or business or just in general?
I think in general, but I think how do we restore order? You got to have uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
Once you start to see something, it could be business or it could be relationship. Once you start to see some level of disturbing behavior,
you got to address it.
Look, bro, or look, I need to talk to you. I got to talk to you. What happened?
You tripping.
Whenever I got to talk to you, it's like,
it's not good. Yep.
It's like, what happened? X, Y, and Z. I just wanted some clarity. I didn't really appreciate that. You gotta nip it in the butt early.
Yeah, because that entitlement becomes a monster. I think in any instance, if it isn't appreciated, you got to remove that thing that they're entitled to. And it's often a person is entitled for whatever reason for something they can't usually generate for themselves. And a lot of times we may create the entitlement by giving too much. You got to tear out and stack out the blessings that you give from heaven. whether it's in business and personal. Even in our position, no interview, no relationship, I think we take for granted because we're smart enough to know it can go away at any time. A lot of times people will get access to something and feel like it should be 10x to what they're given. I'm like, appreciate this one thing because the life before was not probably as pleasant. So, but I've learned if I enable entitlement, it was always my fault amongst my inner circle.
That's a fact. And then also what I would say is that you have to correct with patience and education. You correct behavior. You correct behavior with patience and education. Trying to correct behavior with authoritarian rule is not the best way.
It doesn't work.
So what I mean by this, okay, example. If you're with somebody, right, and let's say that they're doing something that's really bothering you, right? Let's say, for instance, they're telling you tell somebody something and then they're telling their friend something. Everything that you tell them, they're telling their friend.
Yep.
And it's getting back to you, right? And it's like, I'm confiding in you because A, you're either my friend or you're my girlfriend, you whatever. Like, I'm trusting you with information.
Yep.
You're disappointing me by leaking this information. So what you can explain to them, like, look, this is hurtful to our relationship because I'm only telling you these things because I have a certain level of trust in you, right?
Love for you, yeah.
And
Trust.
if I wanted everybody to know this, I would tell everybody this. But you might not think it's a big deal by telling somebody this, but it's going to hurt me if more people know about this because this is not something that I'm actually ready for the public to know. That's why I've only told you to get your feedback. I'm kind of expressing myself to you. You're educating them because they might not fully understand the full scope of the situation, right? And then by you educating them on this and then having patience with them to say, okay, look, I know you did it, and I just appreciate going forward, right? Just going forward.
You always just calm when you had these talks.
You learn over the course of time.
True.
Going
the
forward,
other way don't work. Yeah.
Going forward, like now, if it happens again, now you made a conscious decision. Now I got to deal with it. But how most people would handle it is be like, yo, you told the person this. Why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah,
like,
that's not the way.
Only thing that's going to do is make the other person defensive. Well, it wasn't that big of a deal. What the fuck? I ain't think it was nothing. Like, because now it's self-preservation. Nobody wants to feel like they did something wrong, right? But if you can talk to them in a calm manner, then they can have some level of self-reflect. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be like, "Yo, you was right." If you talk to them in a calm way, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be like, "You know what? I apologize. You was right." If you talk to them in a belligerent way, even if it's the same,
they're going to attack back.
They're going to attack back. They're not going to say I was wrong.
Yeah.
They're going to make every excuse in the book why they did it. Well, you shouldn't have told me if you want somebody to know, and it wasn't even that big of a deal.
Which is the wrong thing to say. That's
they already knew anyway.
You know what I'm
saying? So they're going to make every excuse in the book why to justify their actions.
Yeah.
So you got to correct in a calm manner.
I agree. And if they violate again, that one particular thing is access denied. Life is simple. Like as you get older and you just lay out your little framework or like decision-making process, if people violate, people only take advantage because you won't hold firm on what you're supposed to do. And
go back to the Game of Thrones. They did this at Game of Thrones. If you want to test somebody's loyalty, feed them something that is a test.
That's my move.
Like, all right, I told you this thing. You told somebody. I'm explaining to you that I don't want you to do this again. Now I'm gonna throw you off. I'm gonna tell you something
that only
me and you know, and it's not really that big of a deal.
Yep.
But if it gets back to me, I know.
I know.
Now I know. Now I know.
Yeah, a lot of y'all fell for that trap. Like, damn, that shit wasn't even true. But okay, gotcha. Oh.
Okay.
How should you deal with a stalker?
I've had a stalker before.
Yeah, me too. Couple.
It's scary. It's actually pretty scary.
We can table it.
I'm not sure how you deal with a stalker. Honestly, me personally, I ignore them. Block.
Yeah.
Ignore. Block. you know, act like I don't see him if I see him in public. I
Yeah.
haven't figured out a full method, but I've had stalker before.
Yeah.
And man, that shit is pretty scary. And that's a woman that's stalking me. So I can imagine how scary it is for a woman to have a man. Because as a man, you
can defend yourself.
You're not gonna be scared of her, even though a woman can be dangerous too, but you're not gonna be scared of a woman. Like, as far as like, I could understand how a woman who has a stalker and a man fucking is stalking them. That's really scary.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
So if you're a woman, anybody, but you know, for me, I'm a little different but if you're a woman for sure and you have a stalker, call the cops, please.
Immediately. And get your CCO.
And get a gun.
Yeah. License to carry.
Please.
For sure.
Please.
New rule, everybody in your space want to take your spot and kill you. Don't give them anything.
Men are crazy. There's a lot of crazy men out here. Like, there's a lot of crazy. If you have a daughter, or this shit is kind of scary. That's going back to this arranged marriage thing. Going back to this arranged marriage thing. That's why you need protection out here. Like, men are doing weird shit
every day. Yep. And I don't think we just be ranting. These are our lived experiences, y'all.
Showing up at women's work and staying outside their door and
with fucking the boombox.
Getting their phone and calling their phone 37 times and calling from blocked numbers. Fucking, who raised these motherfuckers? Like,
throwing a little tracker in the car. You won't pick up on the iPhone. You know what I mean? Shit crazy, yo.
A lot of fucking weirdos out
Weird
here,
people. Mm-hmm. You got to be careful and keep that license on you. Yeah. At
all times.
Who was the villain that you think was 100% right in their theology or philosophy?
A villain?
Mm-hmm. A lot of times villains get deemed as wrong, but it depends, I think, on what lens you see it from.
A real life villain?
Or character. Either or.
I got who you have?
A Killmonger.
Was he a villain though? He was hero.
It depends on what side you see it from. But I think even Thanos, I don't like how he approaching things, but his thesis was right. The world needs to be reset. And then while all the darker hue, I thought that was interesting. So, but Killmonger for sure. I don't like the approach, but Joker was right about a lot of things he was saying about society too. Yeah. In the comments, you guys put it. What villain do you think was absolutely
Professor X?
Or Magneto? Magneto.
Yeah. Magneto.
You win.
Magneto.
For sure.
You know, there's a theory. That was
loosely
based on Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm. You can see it.
Magneto being Malcolm X.
Yep.
Professor X being Martin Luther King. Because that was his whole thing. Magneto's whole thing was like, Magneto's not a bad person. His whole thing was like, yo, these people, they don't like us. They don't want, like, why are we trying to assimilate? Why are we trying to no, it's us against them. Like, we got to stick together. We got to do this, And Professor X thing is like, no, like, it's an assimilation and we can't do this and because you remember the mutants is always like the outcast of society. Like, let them burn. So Magneto.
That's a great answer. He's the one. One of the greatest comic book characters ever, for sure.
Shout out to Magneto.
And at one point, shout out to Stanley. At one point, Magneto almost had Professor X, on his side, and things got in the way, as they always do.
So Troy said it's the truth. Stan Lee confirmed it.
Okay.
He said Stan Lee confirmed it.
Is that a culture vulture move though? Rest in peace, Stanley.
Nah.
Stanley, a good dude.
Stanley a legend. Shout out to Stanley.
He's definitely an advocate.
Stanley a legend.
For sure.
Okay. Anything else that we need to talk about? Is healthy relationships boring? Let's play this clip.
Yeah.
Do y'all think healthy relationships get boring?
That is my point exactly. That's one of the main reasons why relationships don't work. Because of the way society thinks. It is out of this world. A comment like that? Good luck, everyone. Say bye to relationships. Say bye to love. Say bye to all of it. Apparently, all of that is boring. And we wonder why, as a society, relationships keep failing. I got nothing more to say.
Okay. Are healthy relationships boring?
I don't think so. I think if you get with a boring person and have a healthy relationship, it'll be boring. But I think there's a lot of excitement if you find the right person and y'all vibe well together. I think a lot of that comes down to settling for a person you don't want to be with either. So
yeah. I don't think healthy. I think if you're a boring person, you're just gonna be a boring person.
Boring person, regardless. Yeah.
Yep.
If you can't find excitement without the toxic shit, it's a self-sabotage issue.
That's a fact. You could be a healthy relationship and spice things up and have fun and catch the he got game Ferris wheel trick if you're into it. Like what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you could have fun in a relationship and be healthy. I think the idea of that is not fun unless it's toxic is a real idea though. That's a real thing.
For sure.
This goes back to like they always say girls want bad boys, right? Bad guys.
That's true.
And they like men want inverse of that. But they want that like on the women's side, right? Like
bad B's overrated though. After a while,
the bad B, that's
overrated.
Women want bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Men want bad B's.
Until you get enough of them and realize they're headache.
Overrated
as hell. That's the other topic. All them little Instagram dolls y'all be chasing, bitches are bore. Don't have no personality, nothing to talk about. Like what? I saw the little IG baddie meme pop up. I was like, oh. Familiar territory. What a bore. What a bore.
That's a false narrative, but it's based on some level of truth. But that goes
is that programmed? Because I subconsciously believe a lot of the tropes that are talked about in our culture is propaganda created by divorce lawyers.
Or created by the government.
Well, there you go. Get that revenue. Hey, for real. Because I think we're the only nation that thrives off of toxic interactions for profit. So, yeah. But yeah, if you're boring, your healthy relationship gonna be boring, and you're gonna have way more fun in a healthy relationship. Way more. But y'all gotta quit settling.
I'll tell you what. You think that being boring is a problem? Try being in a toxic relationship.
Man,
see how that goes for you.
It'll ruin your life,
literally.
We seeing him going through it right now.
See how that goes for you. If you want some excitement and you want to play that game of like, oh no, I like it, like she's crazy, he's crazy, but it's exciting type shit. All right. Okay.
That's self-sabotage. People who love that kind of shit don't have nothing else going on, so they're dependent on another person for a purpose. Yep. But you can't have a sustainable life and people that you love around you and be involved in that kind of drama.
Waited out 5 years when you got 3 kids and got cheated on 10 different times and stole your car and y'all got back and forth to DV court and like, all right, play the game if you want.
Ran through the mud.
Play the exciting game if you want.
Gonna be a lot of money. Chasing excitement. Yep.
You're gonna be fucking burnt out at the age of 35 playing an excitement game.
Looking 60.
You're gonna wish you had some boring shit in your life.
For real. And fellas, quit being boring. If you could be a combination of both, bad and good in one combination.
How do you not, before we leave, what's your recommendation for somebody not to be boring?
I think you have to understand what your personality is and what your purpose is. I think it's different types of boring and different personalities that work, but I think it comes down to being authentic. But you actually got to go live. You can't do the same shit every day. Like, try and do something new every day or learn something new. And it don't have to be you fucking going on Goodreads and reading a whole book about how to be adventurous. Like, just do different shit. Just go try things you have not tried before and then have lived experience. But if you're not happy with yourself, you can't be excited. A lot of the joy that you feel emanate from us is because we're happy with ourselves first. Be happy just doing this. It's a blessing to do this. As a black man in America, this same setup 25 years ago probably would have cost us $40,000 or $60,000 a week to maintain. Just be excited and go do some shit. A lot of y'all don't want to travel or do anything on your own, being dependent on other people. That's why people are like, yo, you like traveling on your own? Well, yeah, but at a time, everyone can't go when I want to go on a Monday or Tuesday. I see you got a tan. You know what I mean? So go live. That's the way to not be. But I think that joy from that inner joy, that inner peace, that's step number one. And not to do the same shit over and over again. And quit living somebody's life. I know the gamers get mad at me when I say this, but don't talk to me about your 2K player like it's you.
That's a fact.
Go build you. Go build your sliders up.
Cut the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my brother.
So
another glorious blacked out under the belt, New Haven, Connecticut. You deserve to be richbook.com.
Yes.
We'll be in New Haven, Connecticut for our book tour, last stop this Saturday. Get your tickets. And InvestFest. InvestFest.
Sure.
The road to InvestFest.
You announcing that you're running for president at this InvestFest, or that's next year?
You never know.
What would you do to fix America? One thing, not five. One thing. What's the one thing you would do to empirically fix America?
One thing I would do to empirically fix America is to totally overhaul the educational system.
Oh, that's a great answer.
Completely. I would rechange how it's funded. I would not fund educational systems based off of property taxes. That's a discriminatory practice that leads to poverty communities having low
educational disparities.
Educational disparities versus wealthy communities. I think all property taxes should be collected and it should be dispersed evenly. That's one thing.
So they're going to say you're a socialist.
There's good and bad in everything.
For sure.
There's good and bad in everything. Because if we're a society, right, where every man is created equal, and everybody has the ability to rise off of their own merit, well, give everybody an equal playing field.
Yeah.
You starting off, it's bad enough you black in America. You starting off with a school that doesn't even have an air conditioner, and you got to walk through a metal detector and is teaching on textbooks from 1970 versus school in a suburb that looks like a private school that has dance studios, that has every kid has an iPad.
Looks like a small college. Yep.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
There's schools that don't even have sports programs because they can't fund it.
Yep. And it affects the nation. Like the worse off that we do collectively, it eventually seeps into the like most of the complaints that people are having about the economy now, black people have been saying for 60 years. It's just now affecting other people than us. But the same issues that we were having in the 70s, 80s, and 90s have bled into mainstream America. You got to fix the leak before it becomes an ocean in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, complete overhaul of the education system. That's just one thing. I would make sure that financial literacy and business is mandatory. I would make sure that artificial intelligence is mandatory in schools. I would have a real education on history, not this whitewashed version that they're trying to push or that they have pushed for since the inception of the school system. I would have real out of the classroom experiences as far as like, you know, real world experiences, whether that's with science, technology, business. You got to learn outside the classroom.
For sure.
I would definitely encourage arts more in the schools. That's important. So I think the whole educational system needs to be revamped. And if I had one thing that I could do, it would be to revamp the education system, because that's how you really change society. That's what China is doing, right? Focus on education. You might not change it now or 5 years, but it's a 20 year
20
plan.
or 30 years. You can have change. Like you said, you need to run something for 10 years in order for it to have effect. You can't do it in 3.5 years or 2.5 years. It's damn near impossible to do so.
What would you do?
Reform of healthcare, but that's a huge
a
battle. That's a huge battle. But if I can change one thing, it would be how the healthcare system is run from the time that we're probably starting at 2 years old. Even I know kids still have recess, but there isn't, like, the health programs have been stripped out of schools. A lot of schools.
Childhood obesity is at an all-time high.
All time. I've never seen more overweight kids at a elementary age in my lifetime. Like, even when me and Xander go to the park, like, I'll see the kids, but I'm like, damn, like, almost everybody is obese.
Yeah, that's a fact. It's an epidemic. That's an epidemic within itself.
For sure. So I would definitely start there. But there's some lobbyists that we would have to fight in both of these battles. But hopefully we can find some good ones to back us in 2028.
That's a fact.
Allegedly. Just joking. Dr. Umar, we need you to pull up.
Please.
Immediately.
Please.
Please.
Oh man.
Florida to become the second state to ban fluoride in water. Once again, every conspiracy theory that we grew up knowing as kids is being revealed as true.
That's a fact.
You don't necessarily need, well, I'm in Texas, so I don't know, but certain things are not needed. Then this is why I don't drink tap water and I have a filter on my shower. It's a bunch of ways to depopulate. Just when you guys get time, when you're done watching the show, just go to YouTube and go look at the talks and major forums that have been talking about depopulation and how they can do it. Yeah. It's interesting.
It is. It's very interesting, actually.
Has Flint got clean water yet?
Never really got the answer to that one.
To an ice bucket challenge, but ain't fixed them pipes. That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's been real.
I love y'all. And another form of dirty macking too is to come up to somebody and be like, "Yo, you know, we used to mess with the same person. Why are you a man doing that?"
Oh yeah, no, that's crazy.
That, like, for what?
Crazy. That's crazy.
Yo, man, you know, we like brothers. No, we're not. No, we're not. I don't know. I ain't never seen you in my family reunion, my boy.
It's a dirty game.
It's a dirty game, yo.
It's a dirty game.
Dirty game, yo.
Sheesh.
Y'all enjoy your Wednesday night. Love y'all.
Yes. It's been real.